Have you ever wondered where your morning coffee really comes from? I'm not talking about the fancy cafe on the corner or the slick vacuum-sealed bag from the supermarket. I mean the real origin. The dirt, the rain, the hands that picked the beans. Chances are, it came from a place you've never thought much about, a place like Burundi. This small, landlocked country in the heart of Africa grows some of the most incredible coffee in the world. We're talking award-winning stuff, flavors that coffee experts go crazy for, notes of fruit, hints of spice, a complexity that's hard to find. But here's the dirty little secret of your morning brew. The people who grow this world-class coffee, the farmers who pour their sweat and soul into every single bean, see almost none of the profit. While you're sipping a $5 latte, a farmer in Burundi might be making just a few cents for the raw product that started it all. The vast majority of the money, the real wealth, is made thousands of miles away, in places like Switzerland and Belgium. It's a story of incredible hard work on one end and incredible profits on the other, with a massive gap in between. This isn't a simple story of supply and demand. It's a story of value, and where that value gets added. Quick pause. If you're into deep dives like this, smash that subscribe button and drop your thoughts below. It really helps. In Burundi, the value is in the cherry, the raw bean. It's picked by hand, sorted by hand, and washed by hand. But once it leaves the country, it undergoes a transformation. Roasted, branded, packaged, and marketed. Suddenly, it's not just a bean anymore. It's a luxury product. It's an experience. And that's where the big money is. The folks in Europe aren't just selling coffee, they're selling a story. And unfortunately, the first chapter, the most important one, gets left out. So the next time you hold that warm cup, take a moment. Think about the journey it took. It's a journey that starts on a mountainside in Africa and ends in a high-tech roasting facility in Europe. It's a journey that makes a few people very rich, while the people who did the hardest work get left behind. It's a classic dirty job, but the dirtiest part isn't the soil or the sweat. It's the economics. Let's dig into how this whole system works, or rather, how it doesn't work for the people who matter most. To really understand this, you need to know a little about Burundi. It's a country of stunning green hills, hard-working people. There aren't many big factories or shiny corporate HQs here. The economy is overwhelmingly agricultural. About 90% of the population are farmers, working small plots that have been in their families for generations. They grow bananas, beans, cassava to feed their families. But for cash, for school fees or medicine, one crop stands above all others: coffee. Coffee is the backbone of Burundi's export economy. For hundreds of thousands of smallholder farmers, coffee isn't a hobby, it's a lifeline. It's their single best chance to join the global economy. During harvest, entire families are in the fields, picking ripe red coffee cherries one by one. Close, careful picking, painstaking work. They know quality determines price. They carry heavy baskets, often for miles, to local washing stations. Bustling washing stations where the first processing begins. This is where the fruit is removed to reach the precious bean inside. And then, often, the story ends for Burundi. Over 97% of the coffee is shipped out as raw, unroasted green beans. Think of selling raw timber instead of fine furniture. The country grows and harvests world-class coffee, then hands it off before the most profitable steps. The beans are packed into large burlap sacks, loaded onto trucks heading to the ports. The main buyers are in Europe, Switzerland, Belgium. They import raw beans from Burundi and other countries, and that's where marketing and manufacturing take over. Massive, expensive roasting machines, branding experts, distribution networks, direct access to wealthy consumers. Burundi provides raw material. Europe provides the polish. The real money is in the finished, polished product. Let's talk about getting from point A to point B. In our world, we take it for granted. We order something online, and a truck shows up a day later. In rural Burundi, it's a whole different ballgame. The country is landlocked, no direct access to the sea. To get coffee to a port, it has to travel overland through neighboring countries. The journey starts long before that, on the small farms nestled deep in the hills. The roads connecting these farms to the washing stations are often little more than dirt tracks. Washing stations? Warehouses. Now, imagine what happens during the rainy season. Those dirt tracks turn into impassable rivers of mud. A large truck struggling to navigate a deeply rutted, muddy road in the rainy season. A journey that might take a few hours in the dry season can take days, or it might not be possible at all. Farmers and collectors have to get creative, using bicycles, mules, or just their own 2 feet, hauling heavy sacks of coffee. Every delay is a risk. Coffee is a sensitive product. If it sits too long in the wrong conditions, quality can degrade. And the price the farmer gets will plummet. It's a race against time fought on a battlefield of mud. This poor infrastructure adds a huge cost to the final product, but it's a cost that eats into the farmer's share. The expense of transport, the risk of spoilage, the sheer difficulty of moving goods. The buyers who consolidate the coffee for export have to account for these challenges, which means they offer a lower price to the washing stations, which in turn offer a lower price to the farmers. It's a vicious cycle where the people at the very beginning of the supply chain pay the price for a lack of good roads. It's a vicious cycle where the people at the very beginning of the supply chain pay the price for a lack of good roads. Once the coffee finally makes it out of the hills and is consolidated for export, it still has to be trucked hundreds of miles to ports like Dar es Salaam. This is another expensive and time-consuming leg of the journey. Compare that to a roaster in Antwerp, Belgium. A container ship arrives at the port. The beans are unloaded from the containers, and they're at the factory in a matter of hours. The logistical advantages are enormous. For Burundi, geography and infrastructure are a constant, costly battle, making it that much harder to compete on a level playing field. This is where the numbers get really stark. Let's follow the money. A Burundian coffee farmer might sell their coffee cherries to a local washing station. After all is said and done, they end up with about $1 to $2 per kilogram of export-ready green coffee. That money has to cover a year's labor, supplies, and family support. It's a tiny amount for a product bound for the luxury market. Respectable locally, but a fraction of its ultimate worth. Now, jump to a specialty roaster in Switzerland. They buy that same kilogram from an importer. Shipping, import duties, the importer's margin. After those, the roaster might pay $8 to $12 for the green kilo. Then they roast it. Roasting cuts roughly 20% of the weight, but raises value. 1 kilo green becomes about 800 grams roasted. It's packaged into fancy bags, sold to consumers for $30 to $50 or more. Do the math. Farmer, maybe $2. Consumer, $40. Where did the other 38 go? A big chunk to the roaster, to the retailer, to the branding agency, to shipping companies. Most value was added far from the farm. The grower, who planted and harvested, got about 5% of retail. The rest was captured by a long chain of middlemen, with the largest share to the company that turned commodity into a branded product. This isn't to say roasting, branding, and logistics add no value. They absolutely add value. They require skill, they require investment, they require expertise. But the imbalance is staggering. The highest risks and lowest rewards are concentrated at the start of the chain in countries like Burundi. Farmers are price takers, not price setters. They're at the mercy of a global market they can't influence, creating a cycle of dependency that's hard to break. Despite all these challenges, there's a glimmer of hope, and it smells like freshly roasted coffee. Burundi has a secret weapon: quality. In recent years, the country has started to make a name for itself in the high-end specialty coffee world. Through programs like the Cup of Excellence competition, Burundian farmers have been able to showcase their incredible coffee on a global stage. These competitions identify the best microlots, small, unique batches of coffee from a single farm, from a washing station, and sell them at auction for premium prices. These wins have proven that Burundi can produce some of the best coffee on the planet. The unique bourbon variety beans, grown in the country's high-altitude volcanic soil, produce flavors that are complex, sweet, and highly sought after. This has opened a door. If Burundi can move beyond just selling anonymous sacks of green beans and start branding its coffee by region washing station or even by the individual farmer, it can start to command a higher price and build a reputation for quality, not just quantity. The real game changer, though, would be to bring more of the value-adding process home. Imagine if more coffee was roasted, packaged, and branded right there in Burundi. Instead of exporting a raw material for a few dollars a kilogram, they could export a finished product for 10 times that amount. This would create jobs, not just in farming, but in roasting, quality control, packaging, and marketing. It would mean keeping more of that $40 retail price right there in the country, where it could be invested in better roads, schools, and healthcare. Of course, it's not that simple. It requires huge investment in machinery training and reliable electricity. It requires building new trade relationships and convincing global consumers to buy a product made in Burundi. But it's not impossible. The first steps are already being taken, with a few pioneering local companies starting to roast and market their own coffee. If Burundi can build on its reputation for quality and find a way to tell its own story, it can start to change the narrative. It can move from being a supplier of raw materials to a proud producer of a world-class finished product. And that would be a story worth telling. What do you think? Can countries like Burundi reclaim their coffee wealth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read 'em.